I remember the first program which I did here in Dallas was at Rajgopal Prabhu's place. And he was the first person whom I met actually after I came to Dallas. Means we got connected on email and he had come to Harshal Prabhu's place. So he did not know him, he did not know me, but we were just connecting. And after that, this is the second program, right, at your place?
I think he came a couple of times.
Yeah, I came to it. Okay. So this place for me is also the beginning of Dallas services. Or Frisco, Plano, Little Inn, whatever you call, I don't know. So it's like that. So thank you Rajgopal Prabhu and Mataji for hosting me this evening. And Srinivasacharya Prabhu and Radhika Kriya Mataji for organizing this program. This is part of this Bhakti Vriksha, right? Your Bhakti Vriksha?
Everybody is there. Even Daujani type of.
There are three groups for now, like everybody is open.
Okay. So where is Srinivasacharya Prabhu?
He's coming.
He's coming now. Okay. He told me so many topics to speak on and he is not there. So I'll speak for about 25-30 minutes and then we can engage in some questions and discussions. Because so many devotees told me so many topics and then Dauji Priya Prabhu gave a topic at 5:30 p.m. Like this. So that was the latest topic. Hare Krishna. Srinivasacharya Prabhu ki.
Yeah.
So we were just speaking about you. So interestingly, in the Bhagavad Gita, which is popularly known as the Song of God, I really don't know why it is translated as the Song of God, because it is Gita, so Gita in that way. But when you read the text, you don't feel that it is a song, because there is a lot of operation which is happening to our hearts and minds non-stop. But it is interesting how the discussion goes forward. Also, in the Bhagavatam, there are so many different characters which appear just to help us understand the message of Gita in an applied manner. Because Bhagavad Gita speaks about the message in an instructive manner between a classroom kind of a discussion between a teacher and a student. And the classroom is the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It is possible that when many of us, just like many of us when we study many things in the classroom, but we always talk about wanting some practical experience and we go to certain companies or take internship and so on, and we learn something. So that adds to our practical experience. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita appears to be a classroom kind of discussion between a teacher and student, while Bhagavatam appears to be the practical application of the values of Bhagavad Gita by various devotees in various circumstances of life, in various ages, amidst all different forms, amidst all possible forms of social existence. For example, most of us learn Bhagavad Gita from an individual perspective or spirituality from an individual perspective. And our perspective is our home and then the next home, which could be the spiritual home. In between we do not have many options. Most of us don't relate to our jobs as an integral part of our existence. Also, although it is an integral part of existence, we don't emotionally connect to the jobs. We emotionally connect only to family and then to the idea that once I die, I will go to a greater family. So those are the only emotional connections which we develop. Most of the time we don't think that how would we practice spirituality if we were the ruler of the state? For example, there are elections going on midterm here. So imagine one of you were the senator and you have to now also spread Krishna consciousness. How difficult it would be. You cannot just apply principles like that. If you say 4 regulative principles, you will not get even 1 vote. It will become very difficult. In fact, devotees will also not vote for you. They will say, as a statesman, we don't expect just this, because we want these things, education for our children, job security, so and so. Even if someone amongst these Bhaktivinoda stands for the mayor election, I would tell that person, don't expect vote from devotees. Not because they won't vote for you, it's like the expectation as a political leader is far different. And for a political leader to apply spirituality is so much different. For an individual person it is so much different. For a mother it is so much different. So Bhagavatam is such a beautiful, fascinating literature. It gives the practical understanding of all these things from the entire spectrum. For a woman who was possibly wronged by her own family members, Kunti. Parikshit, who has inherited a lot of things but he's disillusioned with wealth and prosperity and power. For someone who has not got wealth, prosperity and power and is greedy for it, like Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra. Totally unqualified but feeling entitled. Some people totally qualified but deprived, like the Pandavas. And then we have Bhishma, and then so many others, Kardama Muni, Devahuti stories, the Nimi Yogendra discussions, and all Prithu Maharaj and so many other things. So the entire spectrum, it's like meeting various devotees and learning how they applied the message of Gita in their lives. So that's very, very beautiful. And all of you, whenever you read Bhagavatam, you should read it from that perspective, not from the perspective of a ritualistic understanding. Because truth is something which is experienced, and it is something which is experienced and validated by personal experience only. Recently, somebody was actually the topic which Dauji Priya Prabhu, Dauji Nitai Prabhu. Did I say Dauji Priya earlier also? Okay. There is one more devotee, Dauji Priya, and I always call Dauji Priya, so I thought I should only call him Dauji so that I don't miss. Okay, Dauji Nitai Prabhu. He said, what ideal yogi, right? How to be ideal yogi. The topic ideal yogi. How to become an ideal yogi was the topic. And the verse which naturally comes to our mind is from the 6th or 8th chapter, the last verse. Yoginam api sarvesham mad bhaktin mad gatin antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam samayuktatamata. So, that who is the best of the yogi. I did not prepare for that topic at all, but the moment he said how to become an ideal yogi, the word ideal caught my attention. And those of you who have heard me since some time, you must have understood that I do not directly write the word ideal. I don't like to go on those kind of discussions. It's not that I don't like ideal, but the word ideal sometimes fascinates the mind. And it is true. Krishna is also saying Uttam Bhakti, Uttam Yogi, best of all. So that's true. But how we perceive the ideal is always a very different thing. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, every single character you hear about is an ideal person. Correct?
Yeah.
Otherwise they would not be in the Bhagavatam, which is known as the ripened fruit of all Vedic literature. Ripened fruit matlab it is not overripe or underripe. It's just the perfect fruit which gives you the perfect flavors or ideal flavors which can give. Having said that, how many of you feel, including for the Mahajans which were mentioned, that they had ideal lives? Let's start from the first canto. Who comes first? Yudhishthira and Pandavas, right? Did they have ideal lives? Where they never made any mistakes in their life. Any of you feel like that? Pandavas made mistakes, not mistakes, blunders. Yudhishthira Maharaj made blunders. What was the blunder of Yudhishthira Maharaj?
Game.
Yeah. In the gambling dice, the gambling game was fine, but putting his wife as a bet, that was a very big blunder, for which the whole thing goes.
Prabhuji, actually he did not do it. Yudhishthira did not actually bet her his wife.
Yeah, he did. He allowed the betting to happen.
Betting okay, but he did not kept his wife as a bet.
No, see, the thing was
First
when
he became servant
Yeah.
of the Shakuni, and then Shakuni realizes like he made a mistake. Before making him servant,
Mhm.
he must have asked his wife, to bet. Then again he throws the dice and actually makes. Then that's a question Draupadi asks entire Sabha.
Correct. That you cannot bet me because you are already lost. Correct.
That's why Bhishma also, he knows there was a mistake done from Kaurava's side, but he wants to protect all the, curse from the Draupadi. So he don't, reacts or anything. He just keeps silent. So that's what happened. Yudhishthira actually did not care.
Yeah.
He is
So-
very good.
No, it's not about good.
No, he did not commit any blunder. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, okay. So this is the main discussion today when we talk about the word ideal and how to understand these things, because as the discussion will develop, you will understand that where we are shaping this whole thing. Whoever is responsible, whoever is the senior most person in any assembly, let's say take this example of ISKCON as a society. If something goes wrong, even in this particular Bhakti Vruksh, the temple president in the GBC body in the North America preaching, they will ask Nityanand Prabhu that why this blunder happened and what did you do about it. You get it? So as you escalate the matter higher, whoever is the most responsible person, he has to act and deliver the justice or whatever decision has to be taken. So in that sense, Yudhishthir should not have, this is the whole discussion which comes in, that is why this discussion comes, right? Draupadi is challenging Yudhishthir, how could you do this? And Bhishma also says this is a mistake, and she is brought in the assembly. And the whole cursing and counter cursing, all those episodes which are just about to begin, and Gandhari says don't curse. This is all about that. In fact, even during just before the war also, the discussions when they happen, so Draupadi and also including Bhima, they felt that Yudhishthira was not delivering the true justice. Being the king, he allowed these things to happen, and then for the Kauravas to take a position that I am a worthy bet, or I am one who is won over by them. So therefore this whole gambling arena is not seen from the Kshatriya's point of view as a problem. That's why I said Yudhishthira doing gambling is not a problem. It was a part of their activity. But the betting or the issue of Draupadi, however it was pursued, let us say like that. It was not that he said, okay, I am betting Draupadi. Not that way. But Draupadi was exploited in manners of being a person who has been won in the bet. You understand this? That now that I own you, I own your wife, I own your children, I own your house, and so they are a worthy bet which I have won by default. So this whole perception which created, that became the foundation for many other things to follow. The whole Mahabharata war took place only for one of the very major reasons of avenging was this. So I'll not go into the detail of that particular episode, but I get your point, and I hope you got this point of the blunder. Blunder in the sense that he should have. Same thing was, I think in our earlier years we have discussion how Bhishma Krishna told Bhishma that your blunder was to take the side of the Kauravas in the battlefield. Okay. So not that he was saying that Pandavas are not right, but just being in the side, that itself was blunder. So the idea we are discussing here is that when you see any of the characters, let's say we talked about Yudhishthir who came, you talk about Pandavas also, every single character. When you read the Mahabharata in detail, you will find one or two episodes of their life where they have made mistakes for which Krishna himself, as a matter of the owner of dharmic principles, holds them responsible. Not that he neglects them. These are two different things.
Yeah.
Neglecting a person and holding somebody responsible to it. Like for example, you will hold your children responsible for something wrong they do, but you will ensure that you shape their character or their life in something beautiful. So similarly in that manner, there are many episodes which come. Even if you read Ramayana and Mahabharata, rishis such as Gautama and the Gautama and Ahalya episode, amongst the greatest of all the satis, these 5 women are considered great. Ahalya, Draupadi, Mandodari, Tara. Correct? It is one of the shlokas which is chanted in our Indian traditions. The 5 greatest of all. So, without going into the details of every person's story, but just briefly, Ahalya did a mistake of what? Of wanting to have some association with Indra, because of which, although she was married and she had this fascination that how would it be to be the wife of the king of heaven, and then Gautama Rishi cursed her for that. That's how it comes in the Ramayana. Then Mandodari. There is a story about Mandodari, how she got impregnated by accident, which was not through Ravan, through some other, the blood of some rishis which was kept in a pot, and by accidentally she drank and she got so scared, now Ravan will punish me, and so many other things. So there is that episode, I am not discussing that. But there is there. Then Draupadi's episode. So many such episodes where everyone has committed some or the other mistake. Because when you hold dharmic principles as the foundation of your life, it is almost impossible for person and embodied being, somebody who comes in a human form of life, human form of existence, to have a life in which there will be no spot, no blemish. It is not possible. Including Ram was criticized by Sita himself for not protecting so many other, her dignity in many ways. That does not mean she left him, but this critical analysis comes. Bharat criticizes someone, Lakshman criticizes, Sita herself criticizes Lakshman for some faults. And then Sita commits some faults. This is Sri Vaishnava Acharyas, they analyze that some of the faults of Sita led her to her abduction because she did not follow the instructions of Lakshman and so on. So when you critically try to see, you will see that the people whom we consider worshipable and ideal, there were some mistakes in their life. Now comes the big discussion that even if, and these things are not analyzed by us, they are analyzed by our acharyas themselves. Please understand this. We are not to certify who is right and wrong. They are only saying this. Why? This is very important to understand. Whenever we consider great devotees or God who comes here on this earth, to do an avatar, if we just put them in an absolute perfection or ideal state, it will become very difficult to follow and relate to them in our conditioned life. For example, I'll give you. How many of you relate to Nursing Dev in your day-to-day practice? Can you relate? Or Vaman Dev? Or let's say Varaha? Or Matsya? You can worship. But how much do you relate? Most of the kathas or discussions are about whom? About people who, either avatars, who have appeared as human beings and enacted their roles, or great devotees who have enacted their roles as human beings. So when they enact roles as human beings, there are episodes in their life where some shortcomings are seen or rather perceived. Please understand this properly. So much so that, including Krishna, these are very famous episodes which come, that Krishna is wondering, Krishna is planning, thinking to do what, he calls people for discussion and all. Being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he doesn't need to do that. Like, did Varahadev call for an assembly of boards to restructure the earth in its orbit? No. We don't hear all these things. But the moment it comes to Ram and Krishna, the appearance of the Supreme Truth takes a very different form. Why? In the Bhagavatam, in the beginning itself, it says, Kritavan akila karmani saha ramena keshava atimartyani bhagavana gud kapata manusha. That these two people are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they are doing a very mysterious kapat. Kapat means deception, a kind of. What is the deception which Ram and Krishna are doing? Ram here refers to Balram. As Manush. They are going to behave like human beings. So one should understand that this is a form of a deception they are doing. But if it were not for this deception, we would not even practically worship them on a daily basis. Because we relate to them because there were some human elements in their life, without which admiration of Bhishma would be not possible. Admiration of Kunti would not be possible. Kunti's mistake was what? The boon. So yeah, we do not want to take the discussion that this was the internal plan of Lord, because then all our conditional life is also internal plan of the Lord, because nothing goes beyond the plan of the Lord. I hope you understand this story. Otherwise there is no discussion. Then for that Kirtan is there. Katha means it has to be discussion on something which is going to brush your intelligence, right? Means it is going to have some kind of thing. So there is not a, like say Kardama Muni. Kardama Muni desired, why he came out of his meditation and just desired to have an association and called for Devahuti. Of course his son became Kapila Muni. Like Bhishma also, when he feels that, oh, I want to have a spotless life. So what does, recently we had Bhishma Panchak. You know why it is called Bhishma Panchak? Anybody knows?
Is it because Bhishma Dev was on the bed for the last 5 days speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj? And Krishna?
No, not because of that. Yeah, he did that. He glorified Krishna. Actually, the whole Vishnu Sahasranam is given by Bhishma to Yudhishthira. So he spoke the Vishnu Sahasranam to him. So, but Bhishma Panchak is one of the vows which was also followed by Bhishma. And the word Bhishma also means that which is gruesome, tough, rigorous, fearsome, stubborn, that kind of thing. And Bhishma was not Bhishma, his name was Devavrata. He was called Bhishma because he took a vow to, what vow he took?
That he will remain celibate the rest of life.
And he will not become the king. So then Vishwamitra never became the king after he became a rishi, and he was also celibate. Why that vow is not considered Bhishma Pratigya? Just celibacy and not being the king, does it classify as Bhishma Pratigya? Think over this. Then why that is called Bhishma? Why he is celebrated for the Bhishma? Because being a Kshatriya, it is impossible that you can control your propensity not to rule. One cannot act without one's propensity. It is impossible. Look in the whole history of the entire world till 2022. Study every country, European, American, African, Indian history of kings. You will see same characteristics. Every king and their sons, they feel entitled to rule, and they are brought. They grow with the genetic code. In India, if you meet some Rajputs, even today they say, "Hum Rajput hai." Have you heard this?
Yeah.
Anybody is Rajput here? बोलते हैं ना, आप लोग बोलते हैं ना? So even today that sense of pride is there. Even if they are working for somebody else, that sense of pride, we are Rajputs. Huh? So hai wo. So that thing is there. For such kind of people, let's say that you are highly qualified, you are entitled, see, you are qualified, you are entitled, you are powerful, you have all the qualities, abilities, you have all the support, and still you say, "I will not rule." This is an impossible proposition. Even in our own ordinary lives. If, let's say, Mataji, some of you who know to cook the best of all preparations on something, and suppose the leader or the team member or the temple gives the service to somebody who does not know how to cook, and they will tell, "Okay, this person does not know how to cook, but you should follow her and you serve under her." It will become problem now also. And if you have to take a vow that I will simply follow this person's order, it becomes problem even today. For ordinary people, imagine for somebody who wields extraordinary power and abilities and all these mantras, siddhis, and the gods also fear such a person. So you can imagine. And therefore, see, if Bhishma would have taken a vow to remain a celibate and go to the jungles, it would still be not called Bhishma Pratigya, because he has changed the course of his activity.
Correct.
I am renouncing it. But he said, "I will remain as a Kshatriya, but I will serve a person." And he knows that nobody can be more powerful than him as such. Correct? So therefore it is called Bhishma Pratigya. Sorry, it's a side point, but I am just giving a perspective. Bhishma Pratigya is just not an ordinary thing, it's an extraordinary thing which he did. It's like if you, who is very wise and intelligent, and you are told to serve somebody who is unwise, dumb, unqualified, then it becomes very difficult. So try to do that 1 year also. You will succeed spiritually. Because you will break your ego so much. Bhishma did his entire life. This is not ordinary. Vidur, very intelligent, served a foolish king. This is not easy. Anyways, so after doing all this pratigya, what happened? He was... when the war happened, Krishna told Bhishma that your entire pratigya only led for fulfilling the sexual desires of your father. Can you imagine? A brahmachari, his entire life is equated that you gave up family life, but that led for your father just to fulfill his fantasies. So from a Krishna's perspective, it was a very silly thing, like not a big thing. But same person is glorified as Bhishma by Vedavyas, who is the literary incarnation of Krishna. And same Vedavyas also says that Krishna said like this. Correct? So when So that's Bhishma's case. Parikshit case, such a nice, wonderful devotee who saw Krishna. What mistake he did?
Put the snake.
Put the snake. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita, beautiful shloka comes. No matter what you are, just as fire is always covered with smoke, in this embodied, once you have a body, there will be some elements where it may not be a clear fire, there is always a chance to commit some blunder or some mistake. A person is not an ideal person because he just never ever commits any mistake. But the ideal person is seen from that point that no matter what situation one is in life, or sometimes based on our own intelligence and based on our own limitations, life can throw situations which appear so confusing to all of us, and we may falter, we may fail. And that is why stories of rishis failing is discussed. Stories of devotee kings failing also is discussed. The stories of beautiful, wonderful devotee women failing sometimes in life, that is discussed. It is not discussed to analyze their failures. It is discussed to understand that we as practicing devotees, sooner or later, we all will have some element of Bhishma which will creep in our lives. Some element of Arjun, where we are extraordinarily powerful, but we may become that Vishad. How can I face my family members and my gurus? It can happen with all of us. The best of the devotees can face this problem. So some element of Kunti, that 99% of all our life is wonderful, it is spotless, which is attracting sympathy and love of people, but there is 1% which, if that gets disclosed, it may bring some sense of shame. Because of which Kunti was Yudhishthir criticized Kunti, right? What did he criticize? That because of you hiding such a big thing, women cannot keep promises. Means in general category, some of you can keep promises, no doubt. But means these days we feminism culture, we don't take it too personally. The idea was in general. So that's the point in general. So you see here, when I was first reading and learning that, oh, these are great people, of course they are great. I felt humbled that Vyasdev has very beautifully discussed everyone's life with utter honesty, and that gives us so much hope and strength. And we know why we worship these people. Because they represent somebody like us. Of course, when you look back, then it is Krishna who wanted his own core team members to come and do this whole pastime of Kurukshetra, Mahabharata. Same devotees come again in different avatars. But when they go through these whole situations of life, their pains are real. They are not metaphoric pains. It is not like the pains of actors on a stage, which is not real. And in fact, those people who act so well, they actually feel the pain even real in the movie themselves. They cry, their mind changes, so many things we hear, right? So anyways, so coming to this point, how to be an ideal yogi. So whenever we read this kind of statements, we should understand that everything has a gradual process of even becoming ideal. It's a gradual process. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 6, I think text number 24 or 25. Yeah. In the 16th chapter, Prabhupada speaks about a beautiful thing in the last verse. Yeah, in the 16th chapter, text 23, in one of the purports, in that purport, Prabhupada is saying, therefore one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. And it is then and there that he can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. So my mind got fascinated by this verse, with this word gradually. So text number 24 in the translation itself, Prabhupada says, one should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by regulation of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Isn't that interesting? And then I started searching about in this word, the Veda base, about this word, how many times the Prabhupada used this word gradually. You will find so many. The progress in spiritual life is always, Prabhupada says, one will gradually be elevated, gradually progress. And then there is this famous verse which comes, Shanaihi uparame buddhya dhruti gruhitaya atma samstham manakritva na kinchidapi chintayet. Krishna tells to Arjun, because Arjun is now wondering that I want to now perfect my life, I want to progress. So Krishna begins by telling him that you as a Kshatriya engage in Karma Yoga nicely, engage your buddhi nicely, and wherever he sees that Arjun is feeling a sense of restlessness, so he says this beautiful verse comes, Shanaihi uparame, means slowly, slowly. Shanaihi means slowly, slowly. Means gradually, step by step, one should elevate himself and not degrade himself. So this journey to become a beautiful person, an ideal person, is also not going to be just that because you read a book and you now know some rules and regulations, so it's going to be like that. It's not going to be like that. Read about Narad Muni's episode in the first canto of Bhagavatam. So I'm just summarizing on the word ideal because he ideally changed the whole lecture course. So he's to blame for this. I had planned something else. So in the first canto of Bhagavatam, Narad Muni tells this. When the Bhakti Vedanta would come in the ashram, I would serve them and I would eat their uchishta. And gradually, remember this? Yes. So isn't it so fascinating that these great personalities had also gradual journey, which out of their greatness and because having understood the beautiful truth and experienced Krishna, then their 100 years or 3 lifetimes or 10 lifetimes, everything seemed insignificant. So then they said that the moment I got this mercy, immediately I got delivered. But that word immediate is more metaphorical. That's not the meaning of the immediate.
That was my question, Prabhu.
It was a bhav. It's a bhav. As soon as, for example, let's say, as soon as you got married to Srinivasacharya Prabhu, so many good things just happened. No, we can assume, right? 20 years later, what happened? So, no, it just began. We got married, he was settled here, we did this, and things just took in a different course. So, like that. So, when you summarize your life, when you look back, it is always immediate, right?
So, the word tatkshanat.
Yeah.
Tatakshanat, that kshana, when you see in a greater time frame, time span, it is kshana only, right? Like I was just reading recently that in last 1 year, this past 1 year, the earth has moved 7 light days, the whole solar system actually, the Milky Way galaxy, because that is also rotating about something. So in 7 light days is a very big speed, right?
Yeah.
So in your 1 year, if you have to divide how much it is a kshan only, right?
Yeah.
The pace which it has covered, if you divide it in our time frame, it is a kshana only.
Yeah.
I hope you understand this.
7 light years.
Light days.
Light days.
Light days.
Okay, light days.
So that is also-
So Prabhuji, when Krishna says that at the end of the life, remembering me attains immediately. बोलने से वो भी क्षण है प्रभुजी? Immediately? Thinking about me?
That depends on the intensity of the bhav. See, we have stories of Ajamil where he said Narayan. So that is also grace given, that if somehow or other somebody repeats the word Narayan, he got the benefit of still making his life perfect, right? Immediately Vishnu Dutas came and he got delivered. How? But that deliverance was next life he got a chance of being a pious Brahmana and then he delivered.
Correct.
So nobody considers this 20 years like that. Or one life like that. So one has to see from that angle. And even if it is tatakshana, that can be possible. Like Khatwang Maharaj, they said a moment. So apart from Khatwang Maharaj, there is no other person who is classified in that moment, right? Apart from Khatwang Maharaj, and his entire story is not given also in Bhagavatam. All stories about are people who have endeavored, suffered, gone through ups and downs.
Gradually.
Yeah, gradually. Every single story. Khatwang Maharaj is the only incident where it said within a moment and there is no story.
Elevator.
There is no story.
Even Muchukunda also heard like he had a next life and
Everyone goes through different stages of progress. Our idea of life is this life, but if you say, let's say you had 1,000 years of life, maybe 10,000 years ago people were alive for a longer period, then your life would be how much? Right? If you were living for 1,000 years of age, so one life you just perfected in one life. But that same 1,000 years because of Kali Yuga's short span of life becomes 10 lives.
Yeah.
So the interpretation of single life has to change, right? When we superimpose that my 60 years of life is same life is not just the limit, right? Then people can also commit suicide, lose their lives. Many people have done that. In fact, many people who would hear Prabhupada's lectures, also one of them, he said that, okay, I will remember Krishna and pass away like that. One devotee, he fell in bad association from Europe. He would do lot of book distribution, very nice devotee. And then, but he could not give up his own vasanas. So eventually, even after he got married, he didn't have that core qualities of compassion, letting go and all. So his family also split apart, but then he did not have the strength to come back because he lacked that samskar. So because of that, he just then gave up and went back to his old lifestyle. Within 1 month, started taking drugs and then decided, anyways I am going to die, I want to die in remembrance of Krishna. He went to Vrindavan, continued drugs and died. So now this is not the kind of a smaran bhavam tyajantante kalevaram which we want, right? Please understand the application. The moment you take it very ritualistically, you lose on many greater principles. And people innocently have also, not innocently, basically ignorantly, not following that it happens. So kshana has to be evaluated. We don't need to get discouraged that, okay, it may not be this life, that life. That is the impatience. Impatience is the greatest sin which a conditioned soul can have. Tomorrow, if any one of you is coming, is it a public program? Or Friday maybe, I think it's for all. Then Friday I'll discuss something from Bhagavatam on impatience. This is one quality which attracts all the negative qualities. Because we have impatience, we will seek for that kind of the information which will just accelerate only our fancies. Means our reality is not like that. But wherever we read, and we will only latch on to those things. And therefore, Krishna, not only to various devotees, actually Krishna recommends patience as one of the very formidable qualities for a devotee to sustain all these values which you are talking. The moment you have impatience, you will lose everything. Because to fight oneself or gradually progress means you have to do gradually, right? You have to have patience. And that is an assured journey, a journey which won't fail you. But the moment we have impatience, we are going to fall trap into many other things. Thinking that I can just cut the corners here and there, that has not... All of you devotees who have been practicing since all years, if your shortcut so far has not worked till today, how do you think that it's going to work in the future? Think over this. It doesn't really work. One devotee had approached one leader and said, I want to get initiated. So and within a short span he was thinking, I want to get initiated. Very sincere devotee. So that person said, why you want to get initiated? He said, I want to make progress in spiritual life. Okay. So he said, okay, we'll get you initiated soon. Then he said, I want both the initiations together. So he said, why? Because I want to progress fast. And that was his clear answer. So then that person said, no, you cannot initiate like this. This particular guru does not give like this. So you'll have to wait. He got impatient. So he then, after a few months, he said, okay, can I get initiated by this person? So he was denied there. So, and then that leader thought that this person is so impatient and he just wants to blindly follow this kind of thing. So he said that I'm not going to recommend this person for some time. Just develop this basic quality. Gradually things will help. No need to rush. So he immediately ran away to Vrindavan and then found somebody and got initiated there. So this kind of spirit, this doesn't really work. And then so many blunders happened. That's a very different story. He got into doing so many other wrong things and so on. So the point is basically once we develop impatience, we lose the basic fundamental quality of gradually progressing. This is very, very critical. Our lives have lots and lots of anarthas and limitations. Not that Krishna is expecting that we are going to become rid of all of this by ourselves. That's probably impossible. As conditioned souls, it's not possible. That's what all great acharyas show, that we tried our best, but somehow still we could not fit the exact prototype of what dharma is, what dharmic lifestyle is, or what a devotee lifestyle is. Some discrepancies here and there keep happening. And still they got delivered, still they got mercy, still they got krupa. But the thing was, gradually they tried their best. And they were struggling in their own lives very, very nicely and very, very sincerely. So as a sadhaka, this is extremely important to understand. So whenever Krishna speaks about these kind of things, that sachame Priya, he's the dearmost, he's the most wonderful. Or let's say this verse itself, Yoginam api sarvesham mad gaten antaratmana. What is the translation of that verse? Basic translation. I don't want to read. आपने सब बहुत बार सुना है, right? So what is that?
Yogi who thinks of me.
Yes?
He who always awaits in me.
Correct. That's, but what is the yogi nam api sarvesham? Mad gatin antaratmana means he who always abides in. Amongst all the yogis, right? What does that word mean? Yoginam api sarvesham means amongst all the yogis.
There is very few or very...
This simply means that a great devotee already has qualities of a yogi. I hope you understand this.
Yeah.
Not that you do not have a sense of yoga or an integration of your karma, buddhi and jnana and bhakti properly. It's not that my life is totally unintegrated and I am still a best devotee. So it is not a position between a bhakta and a yogi. I hope you understand this. This is not that yogis are yogis, but devotees are best. No. Yogi, when the Bhagavatam says a person who is a bhakta, he has already performed many rituals and rules, and the yogi, he already knows yogic principles. That means you may not know the Patanjali Yoga Sutra or Hatha Yoga Pradipika and those, but you know the essence of that. And the essence of all yoga is that life is integrated. That is the word yoga means. And this word, amongst all the yogis, the best of that is one who abides in me.
So the prerequisite is to be a yogi.
So basically, the sense of yoga must be there. When a sense of yoga is not there, Krishna still will give you an opportunity. That's why the case of Ajamil comes. So in case when there the sense of yoga or integration, yoga means that, right?
Yeah.
I hope you know that this word yoga is not about exercise. That is asana. It should be International Asana Day. But it's not about exercise. Yoga means karma, jnana and bhakti. Your body, mind and intelligence comes together for a higher purpose. That is yoga. So that must be there. There is no devotee who does not have a sense of yoga. You can have an incomplete sense of yoga. You may have an imperfect sense of yoga, but that sense of yoga must be there. When that yoga bhrashta happens or when the yoga nashta is happening, those are classic cases of Ajamil. The entire sense of integration in life got spoiled. But because of some samskar, it got revived. So isn't that beautiful? It's so beautiful. That is the power of bhakti. Or, who is another person whose sense of yoga got disturbed a bit? Very famous character. Yes, Bharat Maharaj. Very good. What's your name? Ayush. Arush. Okay, you all know him?
Yes.
Good. Oh, is it? Okay. Sorry. Bharat Maharaj. Everything going well, some small thing happened and still that he had to go through one more life, right?
Yeah.
Of Jada Bharat.
Yeah.
Not that Krishna just left him. So if we are kind of scared, Krishna, don't treat me like Jada Bharat. And our dedication is not even like Bharat Maharaj, first of all. That we should not be treated like, if that is happening, that's good, right? Look at Jada Bharat's story. People would spit on him, pass foul air on him, urinate, all these things. Same with Rahuguna, same with Avanti Brahman, all these characters having similar kind of situations. And then these are the ideal people in the Bhagavatam. The ideal of all yogis, the perfection of all yoga is what is practically called. Even Arjun's case, somebody who has perfected all this art, he gets into the concept of what is called as Vishad. Prabhuji's and Mataji's, imagine what this word Vishad means. Imagine the most powerful person on the planet getting absolutely dismayed and confused and bewildered. Sometimes we take these stories because just as stories. One time there was a king who did this. Don't see like that. Try to put, these are very life-changing problems which occur. And this kind of template of consciousness will work on everybody's mind sooner or later. Even if you are the greatest of all devotees. All these years, as my nature has been to deeply introspect on some pastimes, I don't get into the fancies of the stories. That's not part of my nature. I get into the difficulties of the stories because that's where I find my truths. And every year I have been discovering newer things, and every year I felt that, okay, now I got it. But then every year some new problem comes where I feel that it's all zero. Means my own life is zero, I am nowhere. Because the problem comes and then all your spirituality gets failed. Doesn't it happen with all of us?
Yes.
Every single devotee has this little confusion. Then they are not little, they are little for outsiders, but in your heart you know it is a chaos. Huh?
It's a fight.
It's a fight. And it's a fight with confusion. It's not a fight that now exactly the roadmap is clear, I am going to fight, I am doing. It is not a Nashta Moho fight. It's a full Vishad Yoga. And you are it's such a big confusion. This is why this whole Vishad Yoga as a chapter comes, not because it is a problem of Arjun, but this is going to be part of all our lives, sooner or later. All those beautiful verses Arjun is saying, Guru na hatva, how can you kill your superiors? Kill. Even today if you want to kill, it's easier, just pull the trigger. But when you want to chop through arrows and swords, it's like a gruesome killing, right? It's a serious Vishad. We may not go through those circumstances, but something like that will happen to test you. How do you take shelter of Krishna? And when such a template of situation occurs, the whole art of progress is, are we taking shelter of our own egos and our own ambitions, and then bypassing the whole philosophical knowledge and thinking, Krishna, okay, this is my limitation, I am doing bad, but you are merciful, you remain like that. I may be conditioned, but you maintain your position of being Kripalu. So, and you have already said, Name Bhaktya Pranashyati. Your devotee never perishes. So I have already certified. Krishna will say, who certified? You are already Bhakta. But I have already certified I am devotee. Huh? Yeah, I have self-certified and you have promised, and that promise was means I am entitled to that shloka. Can you imagine how ego works? And then next day we are praying. Anyways, nobody amongst devotees, nobody knows. Krishna will forgive because other rituals I am doing nicely. I am doing program, kirtan, seva. But main thing I am not telling anybody. Nobody should know. So that's a kind of a Vishad. Arjun only has the courage to openly tell that I am in a mess. And we don't have that openness to acknowledge. Yudhishthir has that openness. Kunti tells to Krishna that, when Krishna tells that you still have a chance to get liberated from your that secret. Today it's no longer a secret to be a single mother of 4 different children. But those days it was different culture, so the cultural thing has to be taken into consideration. So Krishna told, she said, I don't have that courage. I mean, then Krishna only told to Yudhishthir, Karna is your brother. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what it must please Mataji's think that you have one son which you have not told your husbands? Recording ho raha hai. Okay, it's just an example. Now, when your children become of age, 25 or 30, and then at that time you have to declare, not to your husband but to your own son. That actually, can you imagine? Even today it's an unacceptable thing. Means it's just you can imagine it, that will tear your heart apart. That I was never intending to do anything like that. Krishna says, you are my devotee, I will relieve you of all your burden. But that process, a sadhak or an ideal devotee is that person who has the courage to overlook what he needs to do to attain the success. Means, theek hai, if this is that, okay, I will not hold my ego so strong that will block my whole progress itself. So never think that by bypassing something here and there we are building a beautiful spiritual character. That never happens, and if that would happen, we would not have Bhagavatam in the first place. Please understand this. We would not have Ramayana. Ram would not have gone 14 years to the forest, suffering because of the silly politics of family members. Correct? So do not think that becoming a great devotee is doing by accomplishing great tasks. No. Like say, Prabhupada is a great devotee. He built 108 temples and spread Krishna consciousness. No doubt. It's not that we become great devotee by again doing the same thing. Not necessarily. If you are a billionaire, you can build temples. Why not? But Why Prabhupada is great? Like we worship him great, right? At least those who know him, we worship him as great devotee. It's not just simply because he spread Krishna consciousness. Of course, that's a very big thing. Even today, for me, it's a wonder how that thing just happened. It's just a wonder which does not ever diminish. That, like, I'm not so old, but still, sometimes after 20 years of preaching, I also feel a bit bus ho gaya abhi. Nobody really changes by giving any logic, by doing whatever kirtan. People do it. At the end of the day, do what they want. So, bol jao. But then I wonder how he must have felt. Recently, when I was in New York, they called me for a program, and I was giving class at Bhakti Center. So the topic was passing away of Bhishma Dev. And so I asked, who is the audience? So they are all newcomers. So I said, Indians or Westerners? I said, most are Westerners. Those who are Indians, they are also like Westerners only. Means they have no idea who is Bhishma also. So I told them, why did you have this topic? Because I don't, and they said you have to speak only 25 minutes. 10 minutes question answers, it has to end because then we have Damodar Ashtakam, this, that. I said, 25 minutes? How do you explain who is Bhishma? I cannot even explain who is Krishna to newcomers, right? Kahan se? So, then I felt so helpless. Okay, the discussion went well, there was good question answers, but I was just wondering that Prabhupada came here at the age of 70. No one to sponsor his stay, no one to sponsor his food. He started selling books right from the beginning to make some money. Can you imagine this? More than spreading Krishna consciousness is from where he began. Zero support, 70 years of age. That really is something mind-boggling. As you will grow in age, you will realize. I meet many old people. I'm not criticizing them because we all will be facing that situation. But they get upset because their son or daughter or son-in-law or daughter-in-law said something which they felt, Arey, how can they say like this? And they are just broken. Abhi, I don't want to come to America at all. Or I don't want to stay with you. I'll stay separate. Just small things, and that creates so much tension. And I wonder how this old man would have done. Correct? Don't see Prabhupada as just your worshipable guru. See him as an outsider. Just you put yourself outside. Isn't that amazing? How much he would have, like somebody is trying to kill him. Haven't we heard that story? He was sharing a refrigerator where there was beef and Krishna Prasad, everything kept, and the other fellow, he thought that Prabhupada is now gaining some momentum, having some money, so he wanted to kill him. And Prabhupada overnight packed his bags and ran away from that place. Sometimes we just think that Krishna consciousness is easy. Spread awareness, raise some money, build temple, now I know. Create DT department, finance department, this department, do this service, now I know. Do you think it can be done like that? It's impossible. Last 5 years I am hearing that devotees in Frisco Plano are building a temple. It's so difficult. Even with such a nice community to come together at one principle, and although there are at least 100 devotees here, still it is difficult. Imagine doing that. I think that makes him more great. From where you start, a helpless position but still maintaining faith, making mistakes, not that he didn't make mistakes. He made mistakes in trusting people. He made mistakes in saying that, okay, I had to initiate these people early days, many things he did. But those mistakes in the sense that not that he was faulty, but as once you are in a human body, you are bound, whatever you do, there will be some smoke. Don't worry about that. Focus on the fundamentals nicely. Never lose faith. Never lose the sight of one's own practice and one's own progress. Do not fall trapped into how other people perceive you. You will destroy yourself. You can take others' perception as a matter of, suppose people perceive you negatively, that you can take it for evaluation a bit. But if people perceive you so positive, then you should also be careful. Because we all know, we all have some element which is so sensitive that will rip apart our entire structure. Isn't it? Tell me honestly.
Yes.
Our entire world will crumble if that 1% gets exposed or gets touched.
Yeah.
Krishna is not expecting that I am going to expose everybody like that. That's not the thing. Be humble about it and recognize that this world is like this. And we have to build up on so many layers of illusions just to even make some sense. And we can make our life ideal and wonderful. That's ideal yogi. That is ideal devotee. We are not discussing about ideal devotees in spiritual world, because then there is no discussion. Correct? Because everybody is singing, dancing. So the concept of ideal is very different here. Our ideal devotee is the journey to being an ideal. And even while that, in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, there is a discussion which comes where Shukdev Goswami is saying, in the spiritual world, the devatas and demons all are worshipping Krishna. That means there are demons there. Correct? No, that is left for some other discussion. But that comes in the Bhagavatam, in the translation itself. Sura, Asura. Everybody is all united to worship Krishna.
So for the definition of Asura, then itself is changed because now they are worshipping.
Yeah. So basically they are not Asura. They are Asura by name but not by characteristics.
Like Prahlad.
Like Prahlad, yeah. Something like that. So they are like... Okay. So I'll stop here. Any questions or comments?
So Prabhu said like idol, like we have to do regular, like gradually we need to become ideal. Ideal, I mean not ideal. But
and even if we don't become ideal, we don't need to worry for that. Just focus on gradual upliftment. Let Krishna take care. He says, right? You do what you can, I'll take care. That's enough. Yeah.
So the question is like when we are and you said, I mean, we cannot really become ideal, and Krishna actually sort of helps us because we cannot, on our own, we cannot do. So, but on the other side of the spectrum, we see like Putana, like, I mean, they are far from ideal. And we, like, I mean, sometimes, I mean, I will think like, okay, Krishna will bend down so much that he will just remove all this and give me
Yes.
ideal, I mean, liberation or whatever. So, like, how do we really...
So that is, see, the examples of Putana and many others like that, which are given, which are spoken. For example, one devotee was telling me that Bhagavatam discusses about devotee struggles and demons are liberated immediately. Correct? Like Putana. Then Shishupal. Then
It's like that is a shortcut.
Dantavakra, Aghasur. All immediate. I also never thought about this. So the discussion went that it's not that I don't have faith. Now they are very nice devotees doing everything nicely since so many years. Chanting all the other things which we follow, they are doing very nicely. But very honestly, they were saying that the devotee was saying that I just have this thing which is bothering me. Now this is called Vishad. My dear Krishna, you are telling me to fight, but I am not convinced of this.
Yeah.
But I have nowhere else to go and I am only going to tell you these problems. So please don't think that if you do not believe everything of Bhagavatam, suppose something does not relate to you and you feel, no, I just cannot have faith. You don't need to feel that I am not a devotee because I don't connect to this particular pastime. So I said, this is what are small vishads, right? Good thing is that you are still taking shelter of Krishna and trying to resolve it that way. Instead of going to some other faithless person and say, that's why I'm saying this, don't go to ISKCON, they'll brainwash you and they're all useless. That's not the way of resolving your doubt. Correct? That's why Arjun's Vishad is called as Yoga, because in the Vishad he approached Krishna and took a dharmic way of getting rid of it. So, all the devotees there is no magical liberation of any devotee. And demons though instantly. So I told that they took a lot of time even to become a demon. So it has taken a lot of torturous effort. Even to live like a demoniac life, it's a life of torture, right? If you are harassing 10 people, you start condemning yourself so much, and after some time, that frustration itself makes you hurt others. Those people who are not loved and cared for in life properly, they land up hurting others throughout their lives. It's a statistically and psychologically proven fact. So many of the demons are like that. They were not raised with love and care. There are very extreme examples like Prahlad, who was not raised with so much. He was raised with a different kind of love and care. But he became enemy of his own father. Means his father considered him an enemy. I am just telling you. It's just a perspective I am giving. Like. So, then how do you answer this exactly? See, this should not be seen from the point that a demon is getting delivered immediately, so that means I have a qualification to still become a demon. I have itna freedom hai that I can become demon, because at least I am not Putna. So I have time till Putna. Means the bandwidth of Krishna delivering is till Putna, and immediately, so I have the whole spectrum. That's not the message. The message is, even if you are Putna, and you came in touch with the absolute truth, because absolute is absolute, right? -1 or +1, it will become 1. So you came in touch with absolute. That is the power of absolute. So do not fear, do not worry. But natural honesty and integrity is the basic prerequisite. If there is no honesty and integrity, it doesn't really work. Putna's case, see, Putna is different than all of us. At least I'll tell about me. Putna is clearly a demon, a clearly deceptive person. Now if I am saying I am not exactly like that, but no, I have elements which are hidden, so I am actually not even qualified as Putna then. If I am absolutely open with whatever I am. So let's say there is, Putna is a clear 100% faulty, and there is the whole spectrum of 1%, 2%, 10%. But let's say I am 60% faulty, but all those 60% are hidden. If I am an open 60% faulty, then no problem. You understand?
Yeah.
All the deliverance wale cases, none of them are hypocrites, none of them are cheaters, none of them are liars, none of them have too much hidden things in their life. They are all open.
Openly demon.
Means they have nothing to hide.
They were ideal antagonists.
Whether they are prostitutes discussed in the scriptures, or they are, Pingala.
Yeah.
But she knew, okay, this is my life. I have been doing this profession for whatever reason. But there is not a hidden element. So that we have to understand. That Krishna is so merciful that please do not be ashamed of your limitations. Be honest, work on it. Don't build a profile which is just hiding that entire thing and taking you, and that will never give you progress. It will never give you satisfaction. You will get tired of doing the bhakti principles also over a period of time. You will feel that this is all ritual. Suffocating. Why? Because the application it's wrong.
Should try to please Krishna with sincerity.
Sincerity, honesty, integrity. It doesn't matter. I have this 20% strength, I have 30%, no problem. Krishna says you have 20% and I know you better than you know yourself because I have created you. That is the best part of Bhakti Yoga. And in fact, Mahaprabhu and all they do promise so much more than what Krishna promises. Nitai, Gauranga. So, but it's all that do not have this chhal, this kapat, this scheming, doing this dangerous kind of things. They appear very simple to us, but they are very, very dangerous for progress. If one wants to be in Golok or wants association with Lord, you don't need to be an extraordinary devotee. You just need to be a sincere devotee, sincere practitioner. This is what I can do, this is my limitation. Everybody of us has limitation of body. Some people can fast so nicely for Bhishma Panchak or Kartik. Some people cannot. Some people will get scared of the Kartik month if they hear about fasting. Yeah. One devotee gets scared of Janmashtami. Because there is a Balram Jayanti, then immediately there is Janmashtami, then immediately Prabhupada disappearance comes, and then there is Ekadashi, and then comes Radhashtami. It's like, oh my God, now too many fasting is going to happen. Actual comment by a devotee that I just don't like this season. They don't. I celebrate, we do programs, we participate, everything, but honestly in my heart I don't like it. But they do. So Krishna is not going to punish them for that. That's what I am trying to say. It's okay. We have different bodies, different mindsets we can do, but be honest about it, be sincere about it. Don't think that you have to match up to somebody's perception. It's okay. Be sincere, be honest. That is too much more than enough. Krishna will come running to us. Okay.
Yes. How to deal with one's own impatience?
One's own
Impatience.
impatience.
It's very difficult to do.
Yeah, that is the biggest thing. So, I don't know how can I answer in 2 minutes, but there are many methods and many ways. See, some things which we hear in the Bhagavatam in simple ways are not so... Sometimes we ignore. When so many spiritual masters or, let's say Bhagavatam 10th canto, Brahmaji prays that one who is the rightful candidate for liberation, he accepts every situation with his Rit Vak Vapur. He accepts it gratefully. So being grateful is one of the way of cultivating patience. So seeing meaning even in the chaos. We have patience. We don't talk about patience when we are having a good time. Patience means we are fed up of dealing with someone's stupidity or our own limitations or something or the other. So trying to find meaning into that, even in a meaningless situation, is where we cultivate patience. Seeing that this is important for my own progress and not superimposing my material calculations of what progress is about. That is patience. See, intelligence. It's a sign of false ego, basically. And therefore I become impatient. If everything happened at my speed, I will never be impatient, right? I have no problem. If something happens more than what the speed then I have, then also I am not comfortable. And something happening less also. So then why should Kala function with my pace? So seeing the hand of Krishna or understanding that this universe is in somebody else's control, it is perfectly running in some order. If I am getting useless kicks on this particular issue from anyone in the family or devotees or profession or whatsoever, it's part of shaping of my soul. It has to be seen like that. Even though I have to do what I have to do. But it has to be seen like that. We have to have a dual set of intelligence which runs. One is the immediate application of what I need to do to solve the situation. And one is the deeper intellect which says, it's okay, success or failure, no problem. You did your best. That's success. We have to redefine success not with the results but in the effort itself. I put efforts, that's success. Material conditioned mind means it will always put success as where the results are. So you will never cultivate patience. The day our life becomes designed in a way that we are addicted to efforts, to performing, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. The marg, the doors for mukti have opened. You have actually put yourself on that road. You don't need to just this one thing. The same thing is told in a very simple verse, Ma Phaleshu Kadachana. But it gets ignored. We can discuss this some other time later. It means many have ever.
So it's a problem that goes in the mind always.
Yeah.
Because others never see it.
Others never see anything. What they see is all illusion. And what we see about others is also equally an illusion. Trust me.
And what we see of ourselves in the vision of others is also illusion.
Everything.
Johari window.
Yeah.
This is a Johari window.
Yeah. Perception is a function of intelligence which is driven by false ego. Bhagavatam speaks amazing things on perception also.
Just an extension to the same question, and please don't take too much time. You know how. So if that's the case, you'll never leave a job. 80% of people leave jobs because of bad bosses.
Yeah.
So just because bad boss, right? So you should see Krishna's plan in that and not leave that job, stay there, or should we leave just?
No. Let's say as far as job is concerned, see, because these days job is not an integral part of our spiritual progress, because it is not something which is like a swadharma. Most of our jobs are not aligned to the swadharma. And that's what Kali Yuga is all about. So, when you have a chance, you can do that. You can leave it. But there will be situations you don't have a chance to leave the job. Like I met a devotee who never went to India for many years, 10 years, because if I leave the job, I'll not get the stamping date and something on, which I felt was a very ridiculous thing. And some people stay 20, 25 years just for that status. I'm sorry if anybody is like that here, I'm not telling you.
I'm sure everybody's gone through that.
But you all have gone through that phase, that mind. And it's easy for me to say that it's ridiculous because I don't have that pressure in me. So I take back my words. I don't want Krishna to test me on that. But people have different kinds of... So at that time then we need to focus on higher values, right? You cannot leave a situation for whatsoever reason. Maybe one's own weakness of heart, or because I have a family and other things to look after and how will I manage? I'm the sole breadwinner for even my family in India, and so many conditions are there for whatever. So you have to tolerate that time. So at that time, if somebody gives up some kind of a situation out of just a sense of ego, that doesn't really solve. But one thing is there, that especially this applies to the Western society. Because you have abundant options, eventually that becomes a part of our character, that if somebody does not align to our thought, I'll give up, I always have some alternative. And that creeps into our family structure,
Yes.
which becomes a very dangerous mindset. And then even more dangerous is that creeps into my psychology. that I have lack of tolerance because I'm just addicted to getting my way done. When that creeps up, it affects the soul, it affects our progress. So one has to just be careful of these things. If one is smart enough to navigate that way, that's the whole concept of philosophy, right? To know how to navigate, basically. That's the whole idea. So, because like I have seen, I think I have discussed this, one devotee was telling me many years that I have a perfect job here. There is not much work I do, I get salary. And I am doing online, I am watching Krishna conscious in quotes videos or this and that and forwarding everybody. So I told, see, if you are being paid for the work and if you have no work, still find some work and do. Because this mentality that you can get paid for not doing your work will eventually lead that you will expect Krishna to pay when you don't do the actual work of progressing, cleansing my soul. And this eventually happens because that person then started feeling entitled that I was getting like this. Then you feel entitled about spirituality also. It is not that mentality creeps in. The point is that. So that is very, very important, especially in the Western societies which facilitate lack of tolerance. It facilitates. You don't need to tolerate. Freedom, liberty. So that can hit back in the... It should not become your character. Yeah. That's the only thing which is. So that much discrimination you can keep if you know your boss. It's fine. And sometimes if you know that now after 5 years anyways I am not going to work and somebody has not tortured me rest of my life, let me just go through this experiment. This is my last job. Kar tujhe, take as much karma. Let me see. Those kind of experiments, I have done such kind of experiments in my life. When somebody, it happens with all of us, we have some difficult people to deal with. So I take that to the limit till I can tolerate. I don't get some karma. Jitna possible, because I don't want the karma to remain, to come back again, ki bhai, tumhara, like that much tax was remaining to pay. It comes 10 years later.
In a different way.
Different way. So I thought, okay, as much as possible. Take it. So we have to apply our own discrimination that way. Just make sure that your soul does not get into this habit of getting things easy and that entitlement. Otherwise, we'll lose everything. Even if Krishna wants to give everything, we'll lose it. Because we don't have the character of our own container to hold that mercy. Yes.
So, I was thinking about the opening up, right? So that's something that we always struggle. Opening up to our seniors or gurus or mentors. So I was thinking that we sometimes don't open up to ourselves as well. Like I was thinking about...
Very good. Can you all hear?
Yes, you can hear.
A very nice point, he said.
So I was...
Repeat.
Yeah. So opening up, I was thinking that we should open up to our mentors, seniors to get their guidance. But sometimes I think that we don't even open up to ourselves. My example. So we, there are some mistakes that we do, we repeat. That means that we are closing our mind. We are not opening up to ourselves that this is something that we are doing wrong, and I should. I should meditate on that and then get it cleared up. So that is, I was thinking that meant, more stronger, that's the last point you mentioned, that mentality has to be controlled. So if you just fall prey of the mentality that you are cultivating, that will hinder your devotional progress as well. So I was thinking, how dangerous it is to not opening up to yourself first. So how does that, Prabhuji, how do you do that, practice that? There is nobody around, you can sit down in a very quiet place and open up yourself what exactly you are doing, but that strength also we lack. So how do we cultivate that?
I am very humbled by this question. I like that line that we don't even open up to ourselves, because opening up to others it's a bit more subjective. That okay, you need to find a person whom you can rely, not just because somebody is senior that you can rely on him. Means that has to be a natural journey, right? It cannot be just that somebody is senior, or even just because somebody is guru. It's not easy to just open. But it has to happen naturally. But opening to oneself is a very, very prerequisite. So this is the reason why, when our life is driven by somebody else's perceptions, we are going to create ghosts. There are two aspects of the mind, or two aspects where we try to seek pleasures. One is when the senses come in the contact of sense objects. That is one level of deviation or distraction which may happen. Means, take a typical example of a small baby. It really doesn't know what an ice cream is, because never eaten ice cream. But the moment it eats ice cream, it wants ice cream. Because the senses came in object of sense objects. So a perception developed and the captivity of mind began. There is another set of captivity which happens, which is not because of sense and sense objects. It is just because mental creations driven by somebody else. That doesn't happen in childhood. It happens when you grow. I hope you understand.
Yes.
When you grow, your sense object wala pleasures is something which you achieve, and you also know it's not so much fun. But then there is a different person which happens created by somebody else. And we are driven by those, and then when that becomes our own contact, then we realize, this was also not true. So the fascination happens in the mind and the rejection happens at the sensory level. If someone's life is driven by perceptions created by others, that essentially means that one's consciousness is not centered around the self as such, it is centered around mental creations. Because if your consciousness was centered also just on the senses, then it would be easier to deal with. Because you are going to get attached to something only when you experience it. Today, if I have an idea that it would be awesome that I would have won the Powerball, which yesterday somebody won of $2 billion, right? No? You don't know? Good. There is somebody who doesn't know. Somebody won a jackpot of $2 billion. California, see? But, सारे detail भी आ गया. Someone said the odd to win that was 1 in 292 million. देखो, we had a discussion of Gita Bhagavad. There were not 3 vows heard. I heard wow 3 times now. Wow. You see? Now you do not, whoever said wow, 3 people said wow. Bhishma, Kunti, they failed to wow us. Someone winning a jackpot wowed us, even when we have not experienced the feeling of billion. It's not that ice cream wala, like ice cream is your experience. Billion is not your experience, but it created a wow. I hope you get the problem. It is a fascination created by somebody else. Now when you after a couple of lifetimes, you probably become a billionaire, or this life, still wow. I don't mind 5 life ke baad bhi to billionaire banenge. But let's say you become a billionaire and then you realize that actually it's not so much fun. It's difficult because what Steve Jobs speaks, what Jeff Bezos speaks, all of them they speak, it's not fun anymore. Everybody is speaking about having good family, just a couple of good friends, everybody speaks this. But we think that, okay, I also want to speak the same thing, but I want that first. So, what it simply means is when our lives are driven by these kind of things, it's going to be very difficult to be situated in the self. Atma samstham mana kritva na kinchit api chintayet. This Krishna is saying one has to eventually determine this only by the means of spiritual intelligence. Madhvacharya, in this commentary to this verse, he speaks on this verse of Manasyeva indriya gramam viniyamya samantatah. He says, by the mind itself, you have to resolve this issue. Or let's say by spiritual intelligence, basically. Here the Atma refers to spiritual intelligence. And the next verse says, Atma samstham mana kritva. The mind has to be fixed on the self alone, and in that way, then when you do slow and gradual progress, then you will make your life successful. So facing oneself means this only. When our life is filled with so... Now let us do this exercise. Forget about big discussions. Take this for 1 year goal. Find your false vows you have in life, which are not created by your own experience, but which are just created by... Maybe you saw Facebook, maybe you saw this, maybe you saw how people respect others and all that. Find out those. Those which are not your sensory experience, and still they are your big, deep aspirations, which do not concern your basic stability in life. They are all just fancies. Just work on that. First level is removal of those things. Then comes the removal of sensory things, which are of the past samskar. And then suddenly you realize, I have to make no progress. Krishna was just there here only. I don't have to search anywhere. He was just behind these layers of false things which I have only created. Or somebody else offered and I just took it, yes. So, speaking to oneself is a tough journey. You know what? People truly don't want empowerment, because empowerment means taking responsibility. People want magic. Don't empower me, just give me the final things. Let's say Krishna says, okay, I empower you to be Arjun. Do you know what that means? It's a tough task. It's not easy. We want the final result of empowerment, that is moksha or prem. We don't want the journey of empowerment. Correct? Think about it. How many of you want to be empowered like Kunti? That I also want my name in the Bhagavatam. That means that you have to go through many things, right? ऐसे थोड़ी आएगा ना. How many of us want? Even if you want to become Putna, you have to do so much torturous things. Empowerment nobody wants. So, Dauji Nidai Prabhu, this point you said, speaking to ourselves is basically a stage of empowering ourselves. It's a very beautiful thought which has come in your mind. Very fresh. It's a beginning of a spiritual quest, a genuine quest which comes by that. Otherwise we'll be leading a ritualistic life, speaking stories. It's good, but ultimately it has to lead to this. It is very satisfying, even when you fail on that path, because you are now on the path. That is what Krishna says, there is no loss or diminution in this path. That is because when a person takes that role, now I am willing to go. It's okay. suddenly you will see the burdens of life go away. The challenges may remain, but the emotional burdens which we carry, unnecessary, it goes. Suffering may even increase, burdens go. I hope it helps. And you can discuss with some people whom you think could be able to deal with some things.
I was saying how the how part of that equation. How do we open ourselves up?
To ourselves? Yeah, so that is what Atma Samsthan, thinking that my consciousness is centered. That's why I said now, either it is on the sensory objects or things at the level of mind. So I have to remove my consciousness from there and at least put myself inside. Sadhana is one such process. It has to be like that. It cannot be ritualistic. It is a time of reflecting and being with our soul for 10, 15, 20 minutes, 1 hour, whatever time you can do best.
So the dopamine effect of that boring otherwise, that creeps in.
Yeah.
And it's the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Like suppose you are conducting Bhakti Ravesh, you will feel now nobody is even coming. There are 10 people. When I was talking fancy stories and nice prasad, so many people are coming. When I am talking real stuff, people are disappearing. It happens. Pay the price, don't hesitate to do what should be done. Because that's where experiences of life lie. They don't lie in the superficialities. Superficialities you'll get bored, just like celebrities get bored with all this name and fame. Why it will be different for all of us? Krishna has got bored with his Aishwarya Bhav. Aishwarya Shithila Preme, that Chaitanya Charitamrita verse comes. That's why he's coming in Vrindavan as ordinary person. Now just tired of being Vishnu, right?
Yeah.
So we are just going in circle round and round and round and round. But why we don't give up? Because we don't have the courage to give up. We are afraid to fall in love. Because love can make you wretched. According to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Love is a wretched emotion. Right? We want more and more social security and more like this life, next life, this life, and not just mine, my children and probably their children and 2-3 generations. We want all security. And then say, Krishna, I am so helpless. Krishna says, no, you are not. You have secured yourself with everything.
Yeah.
And so then my prayers also don't have that strength, right? So I am actually then a hypocritical kind of a thing. I am cheating myself. Instead of saying that Krishna, I had all these desires I fulfilled, but I am still realizing it's not working. So at least to carry on my life I did, but at the end of my life, if I cannot give it up, you please take it out and you throw it away. At least that much prayer must be there. And when those things happen, see, trust me, when you pray like this, things will start working. At that time, don't retract. That is very important. What I meant was Krishna means Krishna, I have understood your Bhagavatam with a context. You also understand my Bhagavatam. So you also put it in perspective. Then don't retract. We pray for our attachments to go, but when they are gone, all those devotees cry bitterly. Say, why this happened? Why this happened? Let's say in a group of devotees, someone does not like someone, and you feel that it's better these people don't come for our program only. Not that he has told me this, I am just giving an example. So you may feel, anyways, he always comes and creates a lot of difficulty, let him not come. And then when he doesn't come, then you are saying, see, now he's not coming also. Haven't we all felt like this? I have heard this so many times. He used to come and he's creating a lot of problem. Now he's not coming. But then he's not coming, that is also a problem.
And the worst is that person.
And he went away. And he took other two people.
Yeah, and becomes another bhakti.
Another bhakti. That is another problem.
Then it's even, it's not coming in now.
And he started with my 4 people. He has 40 and I have just 4. So when Krishna starts taking away things, we have to have that courage. Let it happen. If our ego and our attachments are getting lost somehow, naturally, allow it to happen. ठीक है, भगवान कर रहे. Then what is faith? Keep your faith. Okay, it's okay. That's where our character will get built up, right? If we are always protecting, then Krishna will say, see, whenever you are praying, I am doing, and then you are becoming more defensive, then it's might as well just give up. So he'll say, I am just there. Whenever you need me, you tell me. So he's just there. He has a lot of patience. That is also another problem, right? He has a lot of patience. If he was impatient, it was good for us.
It'll work in our favor.
Yeah. Yes.
I have a question in the same context but different angle. We know we are struggling, we are following this process, but we are among the people who are new to Krishna consciousness. So is it okay to express all these shortcomings we are following as part of this process? I mean, what I think is it will be difficult to convince them if we
Convince them?
I mean, at least like inspire them to follow Krishna consciousness if we express all these shortcomings we are following. I mean, it's my perspective, but I just need suggestion on this context.
Yes, so that we don't express to new people. See, whom do you express? We will always express things to people who can help us deal with that, right? Otherwise that will become bewildering. If I discuss my problem, then people will think I am a very big problem. Right? I may have issues at different levels. Everybody has some issues. In the family, this and that, whatever. So we discuss with people. See, discussion has to happen with people who have empathy, who can understand. You cannot have discussion with ritualistic people. You cannot have even discussion with just people who are smart. You have to have discussion with somebody who has sympathy, who has empathy, who has compassion. And such a person, and he or she has to be selfless. That they don't have something to take out of this sensitive information. Then they can help. Unnecessary telling doesn't work. It may work only when somebody is like, you have reached to the state of such an advanced state of carelessness that you don't care, like Rahuguna and all that, like Mirabai and something. I am a wretched, lower than worm in the stool. All these acharyas pray. They are not just praying for the sake of just writing something beautiful. That's their actual state of heart. They feel that worthlessness. So, it's like that. Just to recognize how much problem we have takes a very long time. It takes a very long time. Then, just to give up on our little vasanas takes a very, very long time. I'd say, I don't think from a lifetime point of view, it's just a long time. Like, see, the more sincerely you struggle, the more you will feel the effort you are putting. Like 10 years, if you are not struggling, you will not feel that it was a long time. If somebody who is, let's say somebody is struggling to lose 10 kgs of weight and somebody loves to eat sweets and all of that, and that person puts 1 or 2 months of sincere effort, he feels that it was a really long time because he's really put some effort. So the sense of long time is the intensity of effort you put. And you will feel that, oh, this thing has not come easy. So we all have to do that, no matter where we stand. No matter where we stand. So not to get discouraged by our shortcomings, not that we discuss these things with anyone and everyone, But when somebody tries to, and we also have to give hope to others, right? So, but we don't build hopes on false things. That's why I am discussing Gita, this topic. Nowhere in Gita and Bhagavad they are saying, no matter what you are, don't worry, just continue, I will take care. Is it like that? It's not that. It's not building false hope. So if somebody, see, the process is very beautiful. You get nice prasad, then you get nice hearing katha, you get some honest discussions also, right? Honest discussions also gives a lot of meaning. If you are in your office, you all know na, how it is. And they are all in superlative. We went here, we went there, it was awesome, wonderful, sahi hai. ऐसे ही बोलते, right? But you know that it's not honest. So even if it is realistic, the honesty also adds a flavor, right? So those are mercy only. Why to get discouraged? But unnecessary telling that, oh, I tried 20 years, that is just not working. So the new guy will get confused only. That's not the mood in which acharyas are telling. They are saying it is working, but it is working to show that what is the depth of limits I have. What is the depth of the problem, depth of the issue. And still it is working in such a way that they are not becoming hopeless. Isn't that amazing? If you are so frustrated in material life, you get fatigue, hai na? Even after earning whatever money you got from your so-called boss, you get fatigue.
Correct.
Good boss or bad boss, you get fatigue. And we have seen devotees struggling so many years to make their lives perfect or better. But they don't have a sense of fatigue. They may have fatigue in the external sense that probably I don't have that energy to do those many services or this and that. But not that I just don't want to do Krishna consciousness. ऐसा fatigue किसी को नहीं आता है. Those people, even those who get deviated and lost after 20-30 years also, they come back doing the same things.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. So that kind of hope should be built up. It should be built on realistic. If you build somebody's hope on false platforms, one day you will crush yourself under that platform. Because your own people are connected to you will start talking. Are you promised this. So go slow, steady, build on real things. This is all real things. Krishna did not do anything. He told Arjuna only ideas. You fight, you bear the profits, you bear the losses. What you will do? I will bless. I will give ideas. You become that all warrior experience. One devotee was just telling me last week. They said that I have grown up with so much protection and care in such a nice cultural environment, but that I don't even value what I have got. So I genuinely feel that I need to make some mistakes to understand. So how can I ensure that mistakes are not dangerous? So I said, you don't actually want mistake, you just are wanting a practical experience. You don't want to do mistake, you want an experience. You want to realize that this is good, but I want to know how good it is. So then I told you don't need to worry. As you go in life, life will give such situations. You don't need to pray for that. Why? So remember that thing. So we all also need that. Do not create an environment of overprotectiveness for anybody. That will rob them of their experiences. And that will essentially make them dumb people. So if somebody is going through some difficulty, even in your family, friends or near and dear ones, allow them to suffer calculatively. That's where they'll become fighters, the recognition of what values you are doing, and that will come like that. Sometimes Indian parents are too overprotective. इसको प्रहलाद बना के ही छोड़ना. That guy will become a demon by that pressure from him. Anyways, we'll stop here. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.